Back to you. All right. Happy Sunday. Is that a thing to say? Happy Sunday. I'm so happy you're here. It, I'm, come on, come on. Thank you, Janice. Um, I, I'm Debbie, and I'm here streaming live to you today from the Washington, D.C. metro area. And Hitched Away is a wedding travel company. I keep going back and forth as to how to explain what I do, but my focus is destination weddings and romance travel, which could mean honeymoons, proposals, baby moons, anniversary, vow renewal. Baby, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Let me take you on this trip. Those are the things that I specialize in, and the destinations I specialize in of the islands of the Caribbean. The most wonderful, beautiful place on earth. Um, Additionally, if you uh, are just not quite sure if a destination wedding is right for you, I'm happy to just chime in and help you brainstorm that idea. And even though I specialize in the Caribbean, I'm for any wedding that's happening that's outside of the box, outside of the traditional, the local banquet hall. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I really am of the belief that you can have your wedding anywhere you want. Park down the street, whether it's the beach, whether it's the mountaintop, you can do that. So, on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern, I go live, and the live stream broadcast um, on the on Facebook, hitchedaway. No, facebook.com/hitchedaway, and on the YouTube channel, um, youtube.com/@hitchedaway, and also on the live stream page on the website, which is hitchedaway.com/live. Now, if you're joining me on Facebook or on YouTube, please hop on over there and you can post your comments, and I would love to acknowledge and let the rest of the world know you're here, and my gratitude for you spending a few minutes with me today, because you give me energy, truly. So I kind of moved the camera, as you may have noticed. Usually the camera's right here, and I moved it here. So you see my eyes divert. It's because I'm looking at the screen when I should be looking at you at all times. So any questions you have about your destination wedding or just destination weddings in general? Have you been invited to a destination wedding? Um, have you considered the idea of a destination wedding? Let me know what your thoughts are. Anything that's stumping you, or just like, I don't know if this makes sense. Can I do this? Because I realize that most people, not everyone, but most people know what a destination wedding is. However, starting, how to get the wheels in motion to get one started isn't always clear. So that's what I'm here for. All right, let me close this window so I'm not distracted, which isn't difficult for me. See me looking up here. I've got two screens stacked, and I'm looking at the top screen right now. Okay. All right. Okay, so I have my first question. Let's see. Janice is asking, does the couple get to pick a menu, or is that all down to the hotel? All right, good question. So it really depends on where you're having your wedding. For the most part, if you're having your destination wedding in the Caribbean at a resort, typically an all-inclusive resort, but not always an all-inclusive, you get to pick the menu within some parameters, within the guidelines. Like, it's not a set meal. Sandals Resorts, I always talk about Sandals Resorts because they're the leader in the Caribbean as far as I'm concerned for all-inclusive. They have menu options, so you get to choose what it is you want. The beauty with an all-inclusive resort is that everyone's paying a set price per night, right? And includes food and drink. However, for your wedding, you still got to pay extra for that. Not for the food, but what you're really paying is for the wait staff and the setup and everything. But usually, if you're having your wedding at an all-inclusive resort, you can pick your menu. You get to decide what it is that you want, even down to the point where you say, we want to make sure we have a substantial selection for vegetarian guests or our vegan guests. Or we're having a South Asian wedding and we want to incorporate some of our culture into these meals. You can do that. Sandals and Beaches Resorts, I know will do that. Not a problem. So you get to pick. You want to, and this comes down to, when you're making your decision as to where it is you want to get married. If you're doing the all-inclusive resort thing, which I highly recommend, that should be on your short list. You want to be able to pick, choose, and refuse and decide what it is that you want. But for most resorts, whatever is available for their guests and their the regular meals in the regular restaurants, they will make that available for your wedding. But on top of that, you get to pick something special and decide what it is that you want. Because remember, you're still paying a fee. You're not paying for the location, although I take that back. You're not really paying for the wedding in the traditional sense, but you're paying again for the wait staff and making the selection and setting up place settings and making sure you have the decor. But usually you get some one-on-one time to pick whatever the heck it is that you want your guests to experience. So I hope that answers your question, Janice. Good question. Please don't be shy. Ask me your questions. We're only going to be here for about another 20 or so minutes. I don't want to keep you here unnecessarily, but post your questions in the chat or just say hi so I can let everyone know you're here. All right. So I wanted to share something with you about a destination wedding. And this is something that was on my radar, but thank you, Sherry, and thank you thank you, Kesta, for bringing it to my attention. So let me share this with you, and I hope you can hear the sound. Let me preface it by saying this. Don't believe that your wedding can only be what others tell you it should be. Someone says to you, "Oh, you can't do that," or "How's that going to work?" Take that with a pinch of salt, or a grain of salt. But you make it be whatever the heck it is you want it to be. I keep saying heck. Whatever you want it to be, it can be. As long as it fits within your budget, fits within your style, and within your timeline, because certain things take more time and some planning. Most weddings take planning. And if you're doing a destination wedding, which means everybody is traveling to a specific destination, that takes time. But don't let that prevent you from doing what it is you want to do. Okay. Let's see. I got one of the, before I show you what I want to show you, let me answer this other question. Thank you, Janice. Janice says, I've been invited to a 60th birthday party in June and a wedding in October, both in Jamaica at the Rio. Oh, okay, great. Nice. So are you going to go? That's good. So the birthday party's in June and the wedding is October. Someone's going to be traveling. I love that for you. I haven't visited the Rio in Jamaica. Again, I'm a sandals girl, but hoping to visit some other resorts. Actually, next month, I'll be heading to Tulum, Mexico, to look at some of their resorts. So I'll report back. Janice says in response to if she's going to the event, she said, yes, hopefully. Yes, good. Take some planning, right? All right, so let me show you something here.
With an oxygen tank strapped to her back and wedding shoes swapped out for her finest wedding flippers, Kim Durrell is ready to marry the love of her life. But where's the groom? Well, he's waiting down below, 16 feet below. See, Arthur Miller, along with specially invited guests, are waiting underneath the Caribbean Sea for the blushing bride at Grenada's underwater chapel in Grenada Bay. From the surface, only the steady stream of bubbles, some snorkelers, and a boat hint at the history that's about to unfold under the waves. Now, earlier in the day, the bridesmaids helped Kim to get ready while the guys posed for photos. Yes, that is a tuxedo print wetsuit the groom is wearing. Then while the divers put the finishing touches on the chapel's arch, it was the ladies' turn, all pretty in pink. It's the culmination of a love story that started 5 years ago when Americans Kim and Arthur bonded over a love for diving. Now, the certified open water divers have come to Grenada to say I do and are about to create history as the first black couple to get married underwater. And so, with the guests seated and waiting, it's time for Kim to walk down the aisle to meet her husband-to-be on the seafloor. Alexa, play the wedding march. Despite its non-traditional location, the ceremony does keep some wedding traditions, like the exchange of vows. Now I know you're wondering, how are they going to say I do? Well, that's the easy part. The The officiant simply takes them through their vows, which have been printed and waterproofed, and Kim and Arthur agree by giving the divers thumbs up. The hard part is not dropping the rings, as the current pushes everyone around. But not to worry, these are silicone, just in case they drop and are lost to the sea forever. Rings successfully exchanged, and with their loved ones cheering them on, there's only one thing left to do: seal it with a kiss. The new Mr. and Mrs. Miller head to the surface in a cloud of bubbles, not only as husband and wife, but as inspirations for generations to come. Now, who's next?
Okay, what do you think? I mean, this is amazing. So I'm not going to make any assumptions here, right? So Grenada is a small island in the Caribbean. If you're looking at the map of the Caribbean, it's kind of white down at the bottom, close to a little north of, I was gonna say, okay, looking to Venezuela, like northeast of Venezuela. So small island, but doing big things. And Grenada has the first underwater sculpture. So what they've done now is created this chapel underwater, and this couple kind of did their own thing, right? They exchanged, they took their passion and they were creative, and they got married under the water. So they were the first Black couple, I think is the right way to phrase it, the first Black couple to do an underwater wedding. I think that's amazing. Now, Yvonne, I know you talked about going, you have an invitation. Sorry, Janice, you have a wedding invitation next year. If it's under the water, are you going to go? I'm just curious, because I'm going to be honest. I thought this was fantastic. But here's the first thing that came to my mind, right? I said, first thing I said, what about my hair? That was the first thing I was concerned about if I went under the water. But I see that they had their gear and everything. But this is, forgetting that for a moment, as if I could. I think it's really important to be you and do things the way you want to do it. So they did the underwater wedding. And they used hand signals. Did you see that? Because you couldn't hear them. So they had the signs, and then they used hand signals to say, I do, to confirm that it was a valid wedding. Now, I don't know if it was legally binding, meaning I don't know if they were married before, and this was just sort of like a symbolic wedding. But I thought it was fantastic. So when I asked... So Janice is going to a wedding, and I asked her, in Jamaica next year. So I asked her if it was under the water, if she would do it. And she's saying no. Was boo boo boo. Okay, Sherry's here because Sherry responded to a question. Where are you, Sherry? And I think I saw Craig's name somewhere here. I could have sworn. Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Sherry, tell us where you're located. And Craig, I'm pretty sure I saw Craig's name here somewhere, but I might have been mistaken. Sometimes I make things up. Yeah, so Just Court is asking if it was under the water. Yeah, it was under the water. I don't know if you're asking, would you go to a wedding? Okay, so here's the question I'm going to pose. If you were invited to a destination wedding that's happening under the water, would you attend? Because I don't know if the guests in that clip were, you have to go through some sort of certification for diving. I know that. But I mean, she had the bridesmaids, he had the groomsmen. And did you see his tux? He had the tux on the wetsuit, on the diving suit there. But I don't know. Would you go? Would you go? Would you go to if you were invited to a destination wedding under the water, would you go? Courtney has said she can't swim. So I guess that's a no for you. So yeah. Sherry saying same thing, right? I can't swim. So I guess that would be no. But maybe you could learn. I mean, if the wedding is in June, you've got time. I mean, I took swimming lessons in 2012, a few weeks before I went on vacay, and I was good. Serena, hi, Serena. Good to see you. Serena says, I'm not a strong swimmer. Not bothered about the hair so much. Okay, yeah, it's me and the tracks, and it is what it is. Yeah, so I think, do you, be you. And this, this is what rings true here. The thing is, with a destination wedding, you're likely to get fewer responses. Fewer people, I shouldn't say that. Fewer people are going to say yes. And for some couples, that's exactly what they want. They want to have a small wedding. They want fewer people to attend. So they put out the invitation on the basis that fewer people are going to show up. And that's typically what happens because there's a bigger commitment, right? People have to travel. They have to pay for accommodation. You got to take time off work. So it's a bigger ask. Bigger ask. I almost said bigger ask. Bigger ask. So, if you want to have your dream wedding and you don't want to step on toes per se, invite everyone, but just anticipate fewer people are going to show up. So several people saying they can't swim, so they wouldn't do the underwater. They wouldn't do the underwater wedding. Oh, well, okay. I get you. I mean, I'm not that strong a swimmer, but it's something that you can absolutely learn to do for sure. All right. Another thing I wanted to ask about, has anyone here been, I know Janice says she's been invited to, has anyone attended a destination wedding? Just curious. And if so, what was the experience? Was it good? Was it worth the money? Because there is an investment to go to your destination wedding. Just curious. Anyone here in the last few years been invited to a destination wedding? And if so, tell me what your experience was. Just curious. Just curious. All right. I've been invited. The last time I was invited to a destination wedding, I think it was Anne's wedding, and I didn't go. And regret it. Regret it even now. But usually if you're invited, if you're going to a destination wedding, it's probably going to be your vacay for the year, or one of many. Okay, so in response to my question, I was asking if you've been to a destination wedding. Just Court says she's been to 2, both in Cancun. All right. So Cancun in Mexico is popular for destination weddings. I don't know if you know, but Cancun is a recently developed city, town, location, meaning it was designed specifically to enhance tourism in Mexico. It wasn't like, we're here, let's get the tourists here. It was developed with that intention. So when you go to Cancun, you'll see several hotels, and they've got it down packed, but it was designed that way. So when you hear a lot of people saying they're getting married in Cancun, it's because those resorts and hotels are that was their main reason for being. Serena says that she was invited in response to the question, have you been invited to, or have you attended destination wedding? Says, was invited to 3, but couldn't commit. Yeah, it's a big request. So that kind of seals the point that I'm trying to make, that if you want to have if you want a wedding, a destination wedding, one, expect that you're going to get fewer people RSVPing. Yes. And it really depends on distance, how much notice you give them. We're all in different places in our life, in different stages. Sometimes with the job. I mean, in England, in the UK, where Serena is located. Sorry, I'm playing with my earpiece. There's a lot more leniency. People get a lot more vacation time, and you know this if you've ever been to the Caribbean, or any place actually for that matter, on vacation. The English tourists, or even the European tourists, always have this extended amount of time. They're there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right? That's not typically the case when you encounter American tourists. They don't have that much time, either by choice or by requirement. I mean, the average American gets 2 weeks of vacation. Let me be real. 10 days of vacation. And if they're traveling, if they've got to travel for your wedding, let's say your wedding is on a Thursday, because a lot of destination weddings in the Caribbean happen middle of the week. The wedding's on a Thursday. They got to get there and they got to get back. So most guests are not arriving the day of the wedding. If your wedding's on a Thursday, they're probably going to arrive on Wednesday. Depending on where they're traveling from, they have to leave on Tuesday. If your wedding's Thursday and they probably want to spend the next day to do, your post-wedding event, that's another day. The earliest they'll probably leave is Friday. And if they're going to leave on Friday, they'll probably say, hey, it's the weekend. We might as well leave Saturday or Sunday. So there is an extended amount of a period of time that people have to commit to. And because of that reason, you will get less people showing up. Janice also says in response to, have you been invited to destination weddings? Been invited, but didn't make it. Yeah. And there could be any number of reasons. Sometimes, depending on how the couple has planned the wedding, by the time you're ready to make a decision, the hotel is sold out. They don't have rooms. I know that's been situation for many people. So if you are hosting a wedding, a destination wedding, whether it's the Caribbean or somewhere else, you have to give people enough time to make up their mind. And you also, as the person hosting the wedding, have to provide deadlines and say, we're getting married at insert location here. The deadline to book your room is such and such a date. If you don't give people that deadline, they will wait. And if they wait, there's a good chance they may not get the room that they want. They may not get the room at all. And there's a good chance they're going to pay way more later on than if they book earlier. Yeah. So destination weddings aren't for everyone, but there as many things, there are pluses and minuses. I wanted to mention, and I thought I had the graphic here and I don't. There were a few people recently got married, and I don't have the link. I'm sorry. I thought I had it here. I don't know if anyone here in the US or maybe outside of the US, do you watch Judge Mathis? Are you familiar with who he is? Judge Mathis. He is a very colorful character. I'm looking up here because I thought I had the story, but I don't. But Judge Mathis's son recently tied the knot in a same-sex wedding in Mexico. I don't believe it was Cancun, and I thought I had the graphic, but that's someone who you may well know that is doing the destination wedding. If you are familiar, I'm going to go back for a few of our older attendees here. MC Light had her destination wedding. I think it was in 2020 at Sandals in Jamaica, Montego Bay. Not the Montego Bay property, but the Royal Caribbean Resort. And I mean, it doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, MC Light did destination wedding, so I should. But just letting you know, it happens quite frequently now. You remember 2020, wasn't that COVID? We were in the midst of COVID. But I don't know if it was earlier on, but I think it was 2020, but MC Light is someone else. So there are quite a few destination weddings that have become very popular now, especially because of COVID. When we are restricted and we've been told we cannot do something, the next step is, oh, you're not, I can't do it. Oh, I'm going to do that now. So once you've been restricted, it becomes more appealing later on. Once you've been through that, you're like, I don't want to go through that again. So travel ramped up after COVID, after the pandemic. I should say after COVID. COVID's not over. The pandemic is over, right? But following that, travel really increased. And what that also means is that resorts where you could make reservations and book things last minute, it's that gap is closing now because people have jumped on board with travel. I have to also believe that the pandemic is playing a part. Social media is playing a part in that. It's that FOMO thing, right? Fear of missing out. When you see someone posting pictures, they're here, they're there. Because I'm seeing that a lot now, says the woman who hates social media. But I'm seeing that a lot. People want to travel. They want to go places. And I have to believe that's incentivized by seeing other people who are traveling. I'm hearing a lot of people going to Dubai. I see that quite a bit. And even to the point, I'm about to vent, even to the point where they seem to be spending more time sharing where they are on social media than actually enjoying the place itself. But my point is travel is, the desire to travel has increased. If it hasn't increased, then people are definitely we're seeing more of it. So maybe, but the stats and the data say the desire to travel has increased. And also, the truth of the matter is when you buy material things, we tend to forget after the novelty has worn off, but you will never forget an experience you had. When someone says, they're from a place that you visited, you instantly recollect, oh my gosh, I remember when I was in Germany. Oh, I remember when I went to Grenada. Oh, I remember when I went to Cancun, or I was there for a wedding. And experiences, I believe, are the way to go. We all have a limited time on this earth, and I think we will remember the experiences over the stuff. Yeah, the stuff that we have. Because I have way more stuff than I should have, and sometimes I'll see something, one of my pieces of stuff, and say, oh my gosh, I forgot I had that. But I've never forgotten the trips that I've made, good or bad. I'll never forget those. Let's see what we're hearing. And please post your comments in the chat. If you're on hitchedaway.com/live, please come on over to Facebook, facebook.com/hitchedaway. Or if you like hanging out on your own, youtube.com/hitchedaway. That's the worst thing. I have to do something with my YouTube channel. But if you're on one of those platforms, you can post your comments here and I will be able to share that with everyone. Okay? All right. Great. Janice says, my cousin had the destination wedding that I missed, and it was due to the pandemic. Yeah. So when you say due to the pandemic, Janice, because you were restricted or the limitations, curious, because I traveled in early 2021. I went to Turks and Caicos because I thought the pandemic was over. It was not quite over. And it was a whole thing. Do you know, I had to go online. I had to register. I had to go take a test. I had to post the test results, and my flight, I changed flights in Charlotte. When I got to Charlotte, I had to prove that it was okay to travel on. And then when I got to Turks and Caicos, I had to provide them with my test results before I left Turks and Caicos. I had to do another test to come back into America, because if I tested negative, I would have to stay in Turks and Caicos. Like, that was the worst thing ever. But anyway, that was how it was during the pandemic. So travel was a whole different thing then. But so I'm curious, Yvonne, as to why. Yvonne said she was no longer able to afford the trip. So therein, that's the reason too. It's not a small request to ask people to show up for your wedding. This is what I tell clients. You want a destination wedding? Okay. And then I say, especially if it's an all-inclusive resort, I'll say, are you okay with your guests subsidizing the cost of your wedding? As you get confused looks. Are you okay with your guests subsidizing the cost of your destination wedding? And the reason I ask that is this. When you're having a local wedding, right, your hometown, the more guests you invite, the more it's going to cost you, right? There's a cost per head for each guest. Okay. When you decide to get married at an all-inclusive resort in the Caribbean, and most resorts in the Caribbean on most of the bigger islands they have all-inclusive resorts. They're not all that. I'm going to have to go backtrack on that. But anyway, stick with me on this. However, the more people you bring to your wedding, you invite to your wedding and say, yes, I'm going, the hotel gives you stuff. The more people that come, the less your cost, because the more people you bring to their property, remember, all inclusive, food, drink, accommodation, the more people you bring, the more money they make. And because of the more money they make, the more, I don't say kickbacks, they give you perks. They'll say, okay, instead of paying, we'll give you the photographer for free, or you can have the cake for free, or that upgraded menu you want, we'll give you the upgraded menu for the basic cost. We'll give you the upgraded menu for the cost of the basic menu, because you have X amount of people staying at a resort for X amount of days. So when I say, are you okay with your wedding guests subsidizing your wedding? That's what's happening. And if you've ever been invited to a wedding and you're being encouraged to book within the room block, that's what I do for my clients. It's because they do want to keep everybody together and they want to make sure you get a room, but also because the more people that are in the room block, the more perks the couple gets, i.e. less cost. So you've got to be okay with that. Are you okay with your wedding guests subsidizing your wedding? Just wanted to throw that out at you. Okay. All right. We're at the 3:32 mark here. So I think we've kind of wrapped things up. I just want to make sure, again, I acknowledge everyone. Janice, who's here, thank you for being here. Sherry, wonderful to see you. Thank you for being here. Serena, my darling, thank you for being here. Court, thank you for being here. And for those of you who are watching on the live stream on the page, Mommy, thank you for being here. Auntie Jean, if you're here, thank you for being here. My plan is to be live on Sundays at 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. I am working on a format, so it's not just ask me anything, but to actually have some information to share with you, like that wedding I just shared with you, the underwater wedding. But if you or someone you know is thinking about a destination wedding or needs help with their honeymoon or wants to plan a romantic trip, please send them my way. I would love to help a friend or family member of yours. Also, I have another request, if I may. If you're on Facebook, can you please be, what's it, what was I going to say? Can you be a follower? You see how, can you please follow the page on Facebook? That's what I wanted to say. Yay. And Hitched Away is on YouTube. If you're so inclined, follow on YouTube, please. Because just having that, seeing the numbers, I guess, helps the algorithm. And even more so, I didn't do this today. I have an email list. And if you would like to get a notification, although I didn't send one today, but just to keep abreast of what's going on, please sign up at hitchedaway.com/VIP. hitchedaway.com/VIP. Just enter your first name and your email address, and I will add you to my very important person list. VIP. Do you see how I did that there? But it would be great. It would be great to see your name in my inbox. It just, as I say, it gives me the chills, but it helps me do better. Kester, if you're watching, hi to you too. Sorry, I know got a lot of silent listeners, so I don't want to call everybody out by name, but again, seeing you here means the world to me. So next week, God willing, I'll be here, and if you're around, it would be great to see you too. Any questions you have, send them my way, Debbie@hitchedaway.com, or you can post in the comments on the Facebook page or on the YouTube channel, or just connect. Just send me an email directly, Debbie@hitchedaway.com. All right. It's lovely to see you. Thank you. I wish you a very safe and happy week. And with any luck, I'll see you next week. Take care. Thanks. Bye.